Welcome to Lowcountry View of Hilton Head. My name is Earl Yates. I'm your host. Today my guest is Salli Ann Robinson. Salli is known as the Gullah cooking diva, and she's from Daufuskie. I mean, there's so many interesting things about Salli that I know you would be so thrilled to find out and to learn. So many stories, so many different cookbooks. She's an author, she's an entertainer, and by all means, in the best part of Salli, she is a wonderful chef. Salli.
Yay.
Yay! How are you doing, Salli?
I am blessed.
I know you are. I know
Yes,
you are.
I am.
Now, let's just start with, I guess, one of the more important parts of your life growing up, of course, besides leave out family, because of course family is the most important, but that everyone can attach themselves to would be going to school with Pat Conroy.
Going to school with Pat was fascinating. I mean, and interesting. And I mean, it was just like a whole nother world, even though we, by others, say, how y'all do live the way y'all live on Daufuskie. But for us, it was home. And we didn't see it different. And when Pat came, he opened doors and windows for us that we were inside looking out of, but not outside looking in. As to say, we didn't know about the big wide world out there that we was one day going to face. And when he realized this, that he wanted us to know that one day y'all going to leave this island. And he said, you need to know some more about it, because our folks, they were home folks. They were loving country, neighbors, friends, and family, but they weren't travelers. And what they knew was based on folks telling them of what little places they have been. And Pat knew that we was going to have the opportunity to travel and go far. So he wanted to open those doors and windows for us, and he taught us things that, you know, other teachers before him just didn't do because they weren't as knowledgeable as he was.
Well, that was absolutely a great environment to
Yes.
learn about
Yes.
the outside world, because here, of course, Pat was an outsider himself.
Yes, he was.
You know, so not only did you and the rest of your classmates learn from Pat, but man, I mean, coming to such a beautiful place. I mean, we have so much history in the Lowcountry.
Yes.
It was amazing how much he learned. And of
Yes.
course, it's reflected in his books. I mean,
Yes.
like we have that nice little picture of you, and I know you can't see it very well, of you and Pat.
Yes.
And of course, did you have anything to do with his cookbook?
I'm in it.
Yes.
He wouldn't write a cookbook without me in it. But you know, I was really pleased to know that he did include me, because Pat is a worldwide traveler, and he tastes food all over the world. And when he wrote this book, it was really about food he ate, people he met, friends he made, and I happen to be one of those from before all of them.
Well, it's an amazing thing. I mean, it really is. You've done so much. I mean, now you come away from, of course, your celebrity status with just Pat to growing up on Daufuskie. I mean, I grew up here on Hilton Head, and it was a complete different world than growing up on Daufuskie. How was it growing up on Daufuskie?
Oh man, like I say, home. It was comfortable. It was peaceful. We had our problems, but they weren't problems that stressed us out or we went to bed with and woke up the next morning was still confused. Everything was pretty much set in the way it's supposed to be. We got up in the morning, Mom would be in the kitchen cooking breakfast. You can smell the aroma through the house. And you know, that's what it takes to get you out of bed, if nothing else. And we would get up, get dressed, but before we sat down at the table, we had to make sure our animals were fed. We had to make sure more water was pumped. The wood was chopped and brought in. And the hogs and chicken, everybody was taking, all of them were taken care of. And then we got to sit to the table and eat our meal, which came from some of them. And it was more or less like food was food. And folks, even from the woods, it was fascinating because, you know, like when folks ask me, they say, you eat that? And I'm saying, yes, because I grew up with it. And you would too if you was in our situation. And not only because it's what it is, but the way the love went into cooking those food, a lot of patience and love. and it made you feel just as if you were kings and queen eating some of the top known food, whatever they eat. And I could say, I feel like we ate the best.
Well, I think one of the more amazing things about Daufuskie is even being right next to Hilton Head.
Oh, yes.
I mean, areas where you can see what's going on in Hilton Head from Daufuskie.
Yes, you can.
Actually. And still yet, time took so much longer and gave Daufuskie so much more time as far as the peaceful living without tourism and everything like that to Daufuskie at a time when Hilton Head was developing and we're turned into this
Yes.
booming tourist area. You were still on Daufuskie living a very simple and still a Gullah life, a Gullah
Yes.
lifestyle.
And I think it had a lot to do with we didn't want that over there. Our world was so unique until folks loved each other for who they were. It wasn't a rat race. It wasn't who had better, who had more. It was together. And when Papa, if someone went in the woods and killed a deer or went fishing and got the shrimp and the crabs and they had more than what we could eat, it was shared. And it wasn't sold, it was shared. And everyone on that island lived that way with each other. That's besides what they had. So whilst the world was changing into buy me and you need this to get that, we were still just simple folks enjoying life where things was right there for us to get. All it took was time. Fishing and crabbing when I left the island and I saw people going to the market for this stuff and I'm like, why are y'all buying this stuff? And they would say, well, this is how we get it. And I'm like, no, the ocean is right out over there. Okay, and that's where they come from.
Well, it's as a kid, it's still for me to know family and friends from Daufuskie. And it was just a wonderful thing, but yet it was still a world away.
Yes, it was.
And you know, you look back at times, of course, you have Mitchellville. More discoveries are being found about Mitchellville. Now they're making plans to actually recreate or a Mitchellville project.
Yes.
So you could see how the freed slaves at that time, which most people don't understand, that this island, Hilton Head, was the first area in the United States to have freed slaves and have a community. That's very unique.
It is, and do you know that back in the day, you could actually walk from Hilton Head to Daufuskie across the way?
Well, you know, the funny thing is, I found that out about 3 weeks ago, Sally.
Yes.
I found it out 3 weeks ago when I was speaking to Louise Miller Cohen, and she was saying how it was actually horse and buggy. You know, you'd go over, and if time was not permitted, then you didn't make it back. Then you stayed with family who was over there.
Due to tide.
And, yes. And of course, now you had the dredging and everything, the first dredging with Harbor Town and everything like that, to where that was no longer possible. But it's just Hilton Head and Daufuskie, these barrier islands, have so many stories that have yet to be told.
So many, you know, because as a born native on Daufuskie, I find new, interesting information all the time. I'm learning more about my family history, and I can remember the day growing up there, how unique it was and how much fun it was. I wouldn't trade that lifestyle for the world. I mean, we had free space, and we worked hard and did a lot of things that was meaningful. The most important thing was that today I appreciate it, because all that we did was about today, from yesterday to today. And our parents taught us that. I mean, they said it well. They say, my pop used to say, if you live long enough, you're going to learn something, you know. And as a child, you say, what is he talking about? But today, I see all the things and the stories and the wisdom and that they taught us when, just like any kids, I guess they'd say, oh, these kids not listening. But they made us listen. They made us realize that you're not going to be little always. You're going to get out there. And what world they didn't know about, they know that we would someday discover and find things that they didn't. But we needed knowledge that they didn't have. And they were trying to teach us everything in the best that they knew how. which was really interesting. Through their stories more so than anything to me.
Having that detachment away from the bustling town of Hilton Head and everything else going Beaufort and Bluffton and Savannah was an awesome experience, I know, for you.
Oh.
And you have so much to be told. I mean, we're still talking about your child life by all means, Salli. So what we'll do is we'll take a short break and then we'll continue. We'll start from there because I mean, come on, now you're the Gullah cooking diva, so there's so much more to be told.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us, and we're going to take a short break. Hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have, and look forward to the second part so you can see not only what she went through, but now what she's doing that's so special. Grab a drink, and we'll see you in just a little bit.